I will get in the bathroom to go over it with a clear polyurethane varnish, which will be available from any high street store. Now then, let's just move on from that. Now I just want to show that stenciling kit in a little bit of detail, so if we just come this way with me a little bit. Now this is just such a useful tool. Now you saw Paula use this a little while ago. This enables her to tear off a little tiny bit of sponge and then stencil directly with that. So that's one part of the kit. You've also got within this, all of these duodaubers. Now one bit of advice that Paula gives us with the duodaubers is to use one of these per colour. Now in this altogether you have got 12 of the finger daubers. You've got 12 of the finger daubers, and you can use these obviously with your ink pads, and they fit beautifully onto the ink pads, which we'll show you in a little while. But just one bit of advice, as we said, use your finger daubers, just one finger dauber per colour, that way you're not ruining it. Now the same also applies with these micro brushes. A great set of micro brushes here, and you can just see how tiny these are. Now, if you really want to get to those really, really intricate stencils, then this is definitely something that you need to get. And remember, this is only £13.90. Now, 914593 is your item number. I'm just going to give you an idea of how good these finger daubers are, of course, with the ink pads. So we'll just give you the details of the ink pads. This is the hazy selection that we're looking at the moment. And if you just look at this in relation to that, you can see that it's a perfect size next to it. So it really is definitely the very best way to get the right amount of ink onto your project. 914582 is your item number, £9.90. You've got three choices there. You've got the hazy, the blossom, or the circus. In fact, whilst I'm here, why don't I show you all of them? So this was the hazy. So have another look at the hazy. You've got all those little dusty colours there. Then we've got for you the blossom, which is more pastel, a little richer in the colours. This is your pastel. Remember, these are all under the item number, so you could go for all three for £29.70. And then we've got the circus. Now, circus is nice and bright. Now, something else to remember about these as well is these are nice and juicy. They will go on a very long time. They are acid and lignin free, so you can use them with your scrapbooking projects, and of course you can use them with embossing powders as well, because they are pigment based. 914592 is your item number, £9.90 is the price. So now then, let's have a look at the next set of stencils that we're going to be working with Paula. And this is the fancy frames. Now if you wanted to, you could use the inside of these frames to cut your own aperture cards if you were nice and careful with them. You could also, if you wanted to, just use the outer side as a fancy frame, or you could use the whole thing. That's the great thing about many of these stencils, is you can just use the bits that you want. 914588 is your item number, £10.50 is the price for this. And let me show you some of the great examples, once again, that Paula has put together with the aid of her daughters, I might add, for this show. And this is the one that Jennifer put together. I won't show you the inside of this because Jennifer would be mortified, but let's just say it's been put together quickly. 914588 is your item number for this. Again, you've got something like this with a brass frame. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And how simple was that to do? You've got things like gift tags, of course, that you can make with them. Perfect for scrapbooking, because gift tags are very popular with scrapbookers. You can use it in conjunction with your card making. In fact, virtually any project you like would benefit from the use of one of these stencils. 914588 is your item number, and that's just giving you a little taste of what you can do with that. But Paula's got something that she's going to do for us now, haven't you?
I do.
What are you going to do with this one?
A lot of people ask, how do you emboss without a light box on dark paper? Because they're using the dark paper on a heritage album or a dark card. I'll just show you. You cannot see through this dark paper.
Oh, right.
The trick we use is, again, our popsicle stick. And
otherwise known as a lolly stick in this country.
Right. And just trace with that. It's really hard to see in the really bright light, but if the lights were down just a little.
Okay, maybe that's a little hint. We could bring the lights down just a little bit.
That helps, yeah. And now they can come back up, so you can But you can see how it started to emboss.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, can they see that?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah, we've got
Okay.
it.
And just trace in there with the stylus. This
Don't
is
worry,
called...
if we couldn't see something, I'd tell you.
Okay. It's hard for me to look and see.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, good. I'm just going into...
Why am I whispering?
I don't know. Why are you whispering?
I don't know.
Because I was probably whispering.
This is a really great idea if you don't have a light box, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And once again, you're not actually being, forgive me for saying this, being particularly careful.
No, that's the great part, is that this craft can be done by any age and any talent level. You can use it with all different ways.
And because you're not using a sharp implement here as well, the children could use this as well relatively
Right.
safely. Obviously with supervision. But.
Right. Now I've just embossed the flowers and the leaves, but if I wanted to, I could color all of this using a couple different tools from the tool set.
Okay, we'll give the details from the stenciling set again.
And
that'll be coming up. There it is, 914593. Remember, just to remind you what's in that, you've got 12 finger daubers, you've got 20 micro brushes, you've got the sponge tool, and the 17 sponges. Sorry, the 12 sponges, even 17 sponges, 12 sponges. £13.90p. Don't know where I got that from.
I'm just coloring using my pigment ink.
Which is the circus set that you're using at the moment.
Right.
Remember, you've got 3 choices, hazy, blossom or circus, and Paula is using the nicely brightly coloured circus.
Mm-hmm. What's nice about the circus is it can be used a little bit more pastel just by using a little less ink, or you can go real bright too.
I would be inclined at £9.90 for that great set to go for all 3 because you're effectively getting 36 ink pads, and they're substantial ink pads too, really. They're nice and juicy. They're going to go a very long time.
I'm going to use the large one to go into here, just to give it a little bit of...
They're perfect with those finger
frame.
daubers as well, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. They're the right size, and they have so much color all there together, which I love, because then I'm not chasing my ink pads around the table. I have them all in one place.
It's all in the same place. Exactly, keeps it organised for you. I'm just going to peel that away.
I have my hinge. I can pull it off. And if I was scrapbooking, I'd put my picture on.
Wow. Isn't that... I can't believe how quick that was to do.
It's amazingly fast. It's a great
Isn't it?
way to make a card, scrapbook, or gift product.
Wow. Okay, well, let's just remind you of the stenciling set that Paula was using there. This is the frames, and your item number for this is 914588. Remember, you're getting 3 of those brass fancy frames there for £10.50. 914588. So let's move on to our next set of stencils for you. Now, the next one we've got is the flower arranging stencils. Now, here they are. Your item number for this is 914589, and you have got 3 of these. £10.50 is the price. Now, if you just look very closely into these, you can see how beautifully these have been cut. Now, you started out as a quilter, didn't you, Paula?
I did.
What got you into stenciling?
I found these little stencils made, they were quilt patterns, and I loved them, and so I started selling them, the little stencils, and then I started designing my own. So that's how I got
And you've
started.
never looked back?
I haven't. That's
And
13 years.
Indeed, and for those of you that don't know, Paula is one of the leading stencilers, in our opinion, in the United States, but she's virtually on every website you can think of, so that would give you some indication of how successful she is, and we're very privileged to have her here today showing us all of these wonderful stenciling techniques. Now, let me show you some of the finished examples from that set that we've just been looking at. This has been done using the dimensional paint, and it's also been done mixing, I think... What did you do with that one?
After it was dry, I laid it back on top and colored it.
Right.
Just
okay.
with one of the ink pads that we're using.
How easy. And then we've got one of them done using parchment. Very elegant. And then moving on, then we've got this one that's done using the dimensional paint again. And of course, all of these pieces have been torn. And of course, as Martin Parker would say, tearing is the new cutting. 914589 is the item number. That one, he's never going to live that down, is he, bless him? And then this one's just been cut out with fancy cut scissors and then mounted onto some gold card. And then once again, we've got the scrapbooking theme there. Of course, this is just giving you an idea of what you can do with the scrapbook page. 914589 is your item number, £10 and 50p is the price. Now, what are you going to be doing with this set?
I'm just going to do the dimensional paint because this is really fun.
Okay.
Especially with the vases.
So you've got a card and you've taped it down using the repositionable tape.
Right.
And they're just going to use the three-dimensional or the dimensional paint over the top.
Right. And again, I use my makeup sponge just to tap on some of the paint to get it into those areas very quickly, very easily.
Now,
and I'm going to use...
Okay, could you make this thicker if you wanted to? Or just,
you could. In fact, you could leave it puffy, and then take your stencil off right at this point.
So very dimensional then?
Yes. If you would like me to, I will.
Yeah.
Okay. Make it puffy.
I want it puffy.
Okay. I'm going to need the trash can.
Okay.
So we don't get this all over.
All the rubbish bin, as we call it in England.
That's true. I did learn that earlier today. And I'm going to very carefully take it off, and it's puffy and dimensional. Just by,
yes, look at that.
Just by tapping it on.
Indeed. Now, if I just turn it on its side, actually, you can just see just how dimensional that is.
Almost look like whipped cream.
It does, actually. It does look very similar to whipped cream. 914594 is your item number for the iridescent pearl acrylic dimensional paint. £9 and 90p is the price. I think perhaps what we should do at this stage is maybe have a look at the ones that we looked at the start of the show.
Okay.
If you just joined us, just so that you can see. Now, we do have a full page listing before we do that of everything that we've got on the show. Let's start off with this one. 914584 is a set of 2 brass flower pot stencils, £10 and 90p. 914585 is the set of 5 brass basket of flower stencils, that's £12.90. 914586 is the set of 3 brass stencils, the lilies, the rose and the lupins, that's £10.90. 914587 is a set of 7 brass assorted Garden Friends stencils, and that's £10.90. 914588 is a set of 3 brass fancy frames stencils, £10 and 50p. And 914589 is a set of 3 brass flower arranging stencils and £10 and 50p. 914590 is a set of 4 brass springtime stencils, and that's £11 and 50p. Now, as I said a moment or two ago, what we're going to do now is we're going to just start from the top and just have a look at the stencils and the finished examples so far before we get to Paula's next demonstration. So let's start off then with the flower pots. These are your flower pot stencils. Item number for these is 914584. £10 and 90p is the price for those. And then here are some examples that Paul has put together. That's it onto quilting using fabric paint. There are various fabric paints available on our website, by the way. This is done using the dimensional paint that we were just looking at a moment or two ago. This one is done using the ink pads, various colours of the ink pads that we've got on the show, and the same applies to this one, only this one has actually been dry embossed first. Then we're going to move on to the brass metal. Now, I particularly like this effect because I just think it's very, very special, very elegant, and looks like it's very hard to do, but it isn't. And then I've got a couple more to show you with the brass. Well, that's it with the brass. And then this is one done using glitter. Just have a look at that one, done using some glitter. One of the card underneath it. And then we've got this scrapbooking page that Paul has done for us, just to give you, or give all you scrapbookers there an idea of how to use the stencils. 914584, £10 and 90p. Now we're going to move on to our next one. Let's just make sure I keep this nice and tidy. And that is the basket. Now, you've got 5 stencils here, effectively. 914585, you've got the corners, you've got the borders, and you've got that basket there right in the middle. Now, this is £12 and 90p, 914585. And just to give you an idea, as Paula showed us earlier on, of how you can just cut into that basket and then plant things in the middle of it if you wanted to. And you can use it onto envelopes, like we've done there. Or you could use it onto parchment, Very effective onto parchment, and indeed some more envelopes there as well. 914585, £12.90 is your price for that one. So, let us move on to our next set, which is a set of 3 floral stencils. It's the lilies, the rose and the lupins. Here they are. Item number for this is 914586, £10.90 is the price, and as you would expect from Heritage Handicrafts, you've got a beautifully cut stencil that's giving you all of the detail and all of the inspiration that you need to get the very best from this incredibly rewarding craft. And here are some of the examples that Paula has done. Because the great thing about dry stenciling, cornflower, by the way, is from a different set, but that's just giving you an idea of how to use them. This is the lupins, once again, that's done onto a card, finished off with some ribbon there at the top. And then we've got another card with the roses, again with the ribbon finishing it off. And this one's been dry embossed and then coloured over using the ink pads. One of my favourites is this rose, which I think is particularly elegant. I've got the lupins, once again with a ribbon on the top, and finally I'm going to show you this one, which is the metal embossed silver. 914586, £10.90. Let's show you the next one, which is one of my favourites. Don't worry, we've got some more demos in there. Just wanted to remind you of everything that we'd got. This is your next one, and your item number for the Garden Friends is 914587. Remember, you've effectively got 7 stencils here altogether. You could use this frame on its own, but these fit perfectly within that frame, so you can get perfect positioning every single time. One of my favourite cards on the whole show is that one. I just think that is so elegant. If you went into the West End of London, or indeed the West End of Denver, Colorado, it'd probably cost you a fortune, wouldn't it?
It would.
It certainly would. I don't know if Denver has a West End.
It does.
Oh, it does? Well, I suppose every city does, really, doesn't it? Duh.
It's the mountains.
And you've got all these different ideas of how to use this. And again, I think this is particularly fun, using polymer clay or air drying clay, or indeed, you could of course use silver alchemy with this if you wished. Now that would be a very special card. And then once again we've got this idea using the frame and those stencils. 914587 is your item number for that one, and that is £10.90. Okay, let's move on then to the frames. And with this frame set, you've got the hearts, you've got the oval, and you've got the star, but you've got all of those very intricate embellishments to go around it. So you could use these for whatever you wanted to, and you could use whatever part you wanted to as well. 914588 is your item number for this set. And as ever, as you would expect, Paula has put together some superb examples using it. I'll just show you 2 or 3 of these just so that you can get the idea of how this can be done. This would make a lovely baby card, wouldn't it? This little tag there, or card. Another card there. And I'll just show you the one using the metal effect again, because I really like that. Look at that. 914588 is your item number for the set of 3 brass fancy frames stencils. Now then, let us have another look at the flower arranging stencils. This was the latest one that we saw. And your item number for this one is 914589. £10.50 is your price for this one. And you can see once again all of those different possibilities that you can achieve using these stencils. And we know that many of you are now collectors of Paula stencils, and why wouldn't you be? Because especially for those of you that are making and selling your cards, and many that do that, the fact that Paula represents an age-old company means that you can actually make some money out of it as well, which is great. Now then, let's just show you the finished pieces from that. Once again, very elegantly finished. Very nice shading on that, I have to say. That almost looks photographic.
It is. Almost. It's just beautiful, using just a little darker colour along the sides.
It's very clever how you've done that. Very, very clever indeed. And then there's this one, which I actually very much like. I do love that torn effect.
I do too.
914589 is your item number. That torn effect is very, very popular with scrapbookers, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And card makers.
Oh, yeah, and card makers, yes, that's not...
It's just an easy way to make a different edge.
And we've got one here that's been stenciled onto parchment. So, your item number, 914589. Now let's have a look at the springtime stencil. And when we've had a look at the demonstration for that one, we'll run through that full page listing again so you can see exactly what we've got. So, this is the springtime selection that we've got. Item number for this one is 914590, and in this one you've got daffodils, And you've got some daisies. I think they're daisies, aren't they daisies?
Yeah, they're...
We have got the dragonfly, then we've got the butterfly, the dragonfly, and the ladybug. And let's show you some of the things that Paula's put together using that set. This gift bag's particularly fun. Of course, that's the other thing that you don't always think about with stencils, is that you stencil and then cut around the shape and then mount them onto things. Paula's done exactly the same thing with this card here. Thanks a bunch. I like that. That made me laugh. I've got one here using the daffodils, and back of an envelope using the daisies. Daffodils once again. I always think of that wonderful poem when I see daffodils, which is, you know, the one, I wandered lonely as a cloud, etc., etc. William Wordsworth. I'll tell you later.
Okay, please do.
Let's just say every child in this country was made to learn it at some point. Our producer wasn't, obviously, she missed that. 914590, £11.50. Now, your demonstration for this one is going to be...
Swirling.
Swirling.
Yep. First I'm going to emboss, though, because it helps to emboss it using just a little wax paper. And this is big and open, so it's very fast. The other thing I'm going to do is shade it.
All right.
So I'm going around each area on the light box.
It's just so quick.
It is. And I'm not scribbling in the middle, and the whole thing will pop up. It's the nice part. And see how I just went off the edge?
Yeah.
Won't hurt it. Won't show on the other side.
Really?
Yeah, so it's a goof-proof craft. And I'm going around the outside edge.
We like goof-proof.
Oh, I really like goof-proof. Going around the outside edge just to give it a frame. And I'm going to pull off my removable tape. Just pulling it off a little bit just so I can see if I've got all the areas, and I do.
You certainly do.
And I'm leaving it in place with the tape.
Mm-hmm. So that you can make sure you paint it exactly as well.
Right, so it stays in
place. When I
place.
first saw it, I thought, how do you do that? How do you manage to do the dimensional, you know, the getting the embossed effect and then paint over the top? So this is how you do it.
This is a stencil now. It's embossing template this way, stencil the other way.
Now you're going to use the Circus colours from the Splendor ink pads.
Right. And I'm just going to swirl this on.
Details are on the screen. You've got three options with that, by the way, Hazy, Blossom or Circus. And we're currently using Circus, 914592, £9.90.
And I use a different finger dauber for each colour. And I'm not really being careful, I'm just swirling the ink.
But you're achieving some very nice shading there, then.
And it's fun because it just looks totally different with each layer of color. And it gives the look, in this case, of a dragonfly. But you can use a lot of different techniques. And then to shade it, I'm going to use the sponge tool.
From the stenciling set.
And again, I tore a piece of the makeup sponge off, and I'm just going to tap into there and very carefully go along the edge of the wing, or whatever, if it was a flower or whatever, just to give it a little extra dimension.
Beautiful.
And I just continue, and I'm going to give it just a little bit of extra edge. It just will make it look more like an actual thing in nature, which is dimensional.
Okay. Wow, look at that. You just hold that nice and still for us, Paula. Isn't that gorgeous? 914593 is the details for your stenciling kit. We'll give you the details of the stenciling set that was done from in a moment or two. But I'll just show you the stencils. There it is. And your item number then for this is 914590, £11.50. But if you'd like to have the details of all of the stencils that we've featured on the show, then let's run through those for you right now. Here we go. 914584 is the set of 2 brass flower pot stencils, £10 and 90p. 914585 is the set of 5 brass baskets of flower stencils, £12 and 90p. 914586 is a set of 3 brass stencils, the lilies, the rose and the lupins, £10 and 90p. 914587 is the set of 7 brass assorted garden friends stencils, and they're £10.90. 914588 is a set of 3 brass fancy frames stencils, £10.50. 914589 is a set of 3 brass flower arranging stencils, £10.50. And then finally, 914590 is a set of 4 brass springtime stencils, and they're £11.50. But we have got time for lots more demos, well, probably another 2 or 3 actually, so let's have a look at what we're going to do now, which I believe is going to be an envelope.
It is. An envelope flap is a beautiful way to make a stationery set or just decorate the edge of your envelope flap.
And this is from the springtime set, isn't it? I've got the right one there?
Yes, it's a corner.
Yeah. There we go. Let's give you the details of this one. I'll give you the right details. Don't worry, there it is, 914585, and we're going to use this one down here, £12.90. This is from your basket of flower stencils. Right, Paula? Right.
And I've taped it into place. I flip it over onto the light box, and I'm using just a touch of wax paper. And I don't know if you can see this, but this is the glue side, and this is the outside. So I've taped it to the outside of the stencil.
Okay.
And I'm just going to go around each area and just continue not filling in. This time, it's because it's on paper, I don't need to fill in. And I'm going around the leaves and little hearts, but it's also, the corners can be used to frame something, to put monograms in the middle, to stamp in the middle a saying, or make just a frame. But this is a great way to decorate your envelope flap. So this is embossed now. So you could just leave it just embossed, and it's a very elegant look.
Yeah, I think I'd probably be inclined to leave it just like that, actually.
You could.
Because it's very sort of reminiscent of what Victorian ladies did when they were sending each other messages. Do you know in Victorian times they had about 7 deliveries a day, 7 collections of 7 deliveries?
I didn't know that.
Before telephones. Obviously, they had telegram boys running up and down the streets all the time with messages from ladies and gentlemen and whatever going on. So, and this is what they used to do with their cards. I mean, it was like a whole letter-writing industry, which is amazing, isn't it? I suppose emails actually sort of resurrected that a little bit, but cutting out the middleman, i.e. the telegram boy. Anyway, I digress. I just wandered away there somewhere.
That's okay. It was very interesting. I didn't know that.
There you go.
Yeah, history lesson.
I know, absolutely. So not only do you get craft, you get history as well. Now, just talking about craft, you are watching Create and Craft with Ideal World. Our website is there at the bottom of the screen. It's www.createandcraft.tv. You can, of course, come through on our call centre, which is 08700 700 300, and our highly trained and highly efficient call centre operatives will help you with whatever you need any help with. Now, Paula, what are you going to do for us next?
I was going to color using 2 of the tools, again, the sponge tool, just for the bigger areas, and I'm not going to color the whole thing. That's the fun part. You can pick and choose what you want to color. And
so you're not going to colour it in?
You don't have to. I'm just going to color like
just
the
to
heart.
Just to give you an idea.
Exactly.
Now, that's the hazy ink pads that you're using, isn't it? From
I love the
those
hazy.
Splendor. I do, actually. They're very delicate, very dusty.
Yes.
Almost mysterious.
Yes.
91459. I'm sure you think I'm not quite right today. £9.90.
But going in with the little micro tools, it's just a beautiful way to color very quickly.
And that's also from the stenciling kit. Very useful, that, by the way. 914593. Remember, you've got the 12 finger daubers, you've got the 20 micro brushes, which is what you can see Paula using right now, and you've got the sponge tool and the 12 sponges, all for £13.90.
Right. So I'm just going to do a little edge, just to give it just a little bit of color. You don't have to color the whole thing.
Just picked a little bit of it out.
Right. So that's a real easy way to, mix and match. And also you can make the inside with the borders that are included in that set. It has a matching border.
Now, what would your tips be on caring for your stencils?
One way to clean them, the best way if you've used the pigment ink, is just take hot water, your tap water, run it under that, and then very gently use a little bit of dish soap and go along the edge of your stencil with your finger, being careful not to touch any of the sharp edges or catch it, and then dry them real thoroughly with a paper towel and allow them to lay flat. And I just use boxes, little plastic tubs to
And they should last if you look after them.
They'll
like
last
that.
a lifetime.
Okay. Well, let's just remind you of the stencil set that Paula was using to embellish that envelope while she gets her next demo ready. It's like a bit of a trick, this, isn't it? It's like, what are you going to do next, Paula? What are you going to do next,
Fabric.
Paula? 914585 is your answer number for this one. The set of 5 brass basket of flowers stencils. £12.90 is the price for these. And like all the stencils we've got on today's show, they're from Heritage Handicrafts, so that's Paula's own company. 914585 is your answer for that one. And now we're going to move on to do some fabric. Now, I noticed this from your sample earlier on, so this is a great idea for getting a quilting effect, isn't it?
Right. You can also do it on any fabric using fabric ink or fabric paint.
Okay.
And you can do it on T-shirts. It works best on cotton fabrics, a little heavier weave. But it is very easy. You would need to wash your fabric first so that it gets the, I don't know exactly what it's called, but the stiffener out of it.
Yes, the starch.
Right. And you lay it down. You can tape it if you want to, but I don't think we really need to.
Okay.
And I'm going
now
to...
you can use a fabric pad. Now we do have various fabric pads on our website.
And this is using the finger dauber. And I've left the center just a little bit lighter, and I can go a little darker on the sides to make it look shadowed. Or I can also use a little different color to shadow that too. Just a little darker. But you would start with your lighter in the center and work towards a darker side. And I'm going to use purple for the flowers. Just tapping on there. After, I'll just tell you how you finish this. To make the fabric ink or paint stay, you have to heat set it so that when you wash this, the ink or paint will not come out. It has to be fabric ink or paint, though, to work, or adding fabric additive.
Okay.
And then I need a new color because I don't want to ruin my ink pad. I need a new little piece of sponge. Again, tearing off the sponge, wadding it up into a little ball.
Do you know we're nearly out of time? We've got about another minute left on that.
I do?
You do?
Ooh.
I don't know where the time's gone. Flies when you're having fun, doesn't it?
I know.
Oh, we've had lots of fun today.
I know, we have.
Beautiful. So I always know when I'm having fun because I shut up.
You do?
I do, yeah. When I'm concentrating.
I
when
do
I'm
too.
enjoying something, I shut up. 914584 is a set of 2 brass flower pot stencils, £10.90. Also, Paula was using the stenciling kit, and the details are there on your screen. 914593, £13.90, and here comes the big reveal. And all you have to do now is let that dry and heat set that, and then you're away. Now, let's have a look at everything that we've seen on this show. Let's start off then with this, which is 914584. It's a set of 2 brass flower pot stencils. It's £10.90. Next up is 914585, a set of 5 brass basket of flower stencils, £12.90. You've got 2 borders there. You've got the basket of flowers itself, and you have those 2 corner stencils, which obviously you could use to fill all 4 corners if you wanted to. 914585. Then we've got these beautiful floral stencils, which is 914586. A set of 3 brass stencils, the lupins, the rose, sorry, the lilies, the rose, and the lupins, £10.90. Then my favourite, because it's just so versatile, is 914587, the set of 7 brass assorted garden friends stencils, £10.90. Then we've got the frames, 914588, the set of 3 brass fancy frames stencils, £10.50 is the price for those ones, 914588. Then we've got 914589, which is a set of 3 brass flower arranging stencils, and they are £10.50. Next we've got the springtime stencils, 914590, a set of 4 brass springtime stencils, £11.50. And I really urge you to get this video and book, because Paula will take you through and reinforce everything that she's shown you in this show within the video, and of course that wonderful booklet that comes with it. 914591 is your item number for that, and that's £12.90. Now, talking about inks now, I would go for all 3 sets, and you've got some great sets here. 914592 is your item number. Your first choice is Hazy, that's what you're looking at now. Then we've got the Blossom, which is a little richer, and then much richer still, we've got the Circus. £9.90. If you went for all 3 sets under that item number, it would be £29.70. 914592 is your item number. A definite must-have, and I can't emphasise this enough, is 914593. And if you get this, you'll wonder how you ever managed to stencil effectively without it. In this, you get 12 finger daubers, you get the 20 micro brushes, you get the sponge tool, and the 12 sponges. That's 914593, and that is £13.90. Then we had this finally, which was 914594, the iridescent pearl acrylic dimensional paint, and that is £9.90. I definitely think you need that as well. Now we're going to come back with the details of the flower pot stencils. The item number for this one is 914594, and you can see all of the details. 914584 is your item number, I beg your pardon. £10.90. You've got all of these great flowers in there, and very detailed they are too. Look at that, aren't they beautiful? Now, what we have to do now is just remind you, this is Create and Craft with Ideal World. Our telephone number 08700 700 300. Our website is www.createandcraft.tv. Make sure that you watch out for Paula's other shows on Create and Craft with Ideal World, because they are just as good as this one. And that show, by the way, is Stenciling Surprises with Paula. This has been a wonderful show, Paula. Thanks ever so much for your company.
Thank you.
You take care now, and you take care as too, and make sure you keep watching Create and Craft with Ideal World. Bye-bye.
Bye.